What is up, all of my Morfrost freaky forms? It is me, Caleb, here from the Elestronauts, and today I want to show you the deck that I took to a premier win just 2 weekends ago, and it is BOOM! Woolly Morfrost. I love this deck. I really had a lot of fun putting this deck together, figuring it out, learning it, and piloting it to a win in the premier. And also, hold on, this isn't quite right. I also won my local set championship with this deck as well. It is almost identical from what I played in the Premier to what you can play at your local set championships. I believe it was actually the first set championships. It happened on the first day. I don't know if anyone else was doing theirs on that day, but one of the first to win a set championship. And I actually know for a fact that at least someone else, Jacques Keener, won a set championship as well, going undefeated, using, I don't know if it was exactly this list, but he and I were chatting back and forth about the deck. So this deck has a couple of wins in just the past couple of weeks already, so I highly recommend picking it up, trying it out, taking it to the next premiere in November, or taking it to your local set champs over the next couple of weeks. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and let's get through looking at this deck. You'll notice that some of the cards are unsleeved, and that's because I've already made a bunch of changes to the deck, and I've been doing a lot to try and make it feel better. But let's start off with the guarantees. We've got three Catarant Champion of Keon and one one original Frostfall set Catarant. This is something that we'll see later on. I bumped this up to 2. It feels phenomenal. Every time you see this card off of an Woolly, even sometimes if you draw into it, it just feels really, really solid. And then to match, we have 3 Champion of Keon Woolly and 1 Frostfall original Woolly. Just yesterday, for the first time at locals, finally resolved this effect. I've had it resolved against me in mirrors of people playing my list, but finally resolved it myself. This usually is just a water enchanted 9/5 under Stadium, and that's crazy. Woolly is the absolute GOAT, the champ of this deck, being able to really quickly get you wide board states. So I wouldn't change anything about this other than increasing 1 more Catarant. Some people I've seen experimenting with playing more Woolly. I don't think that that's necessary to increase the number of bricks in the deck. That's all your elephants. Then we've got our Morfrost freaky forms. We've got 3 Chimera, 3 Bat, 3 Lycan form, and the 1 of Scorpio form. I wouldn't change this either. You side a second Scorpio form, and I've tried siding Abominable form. Abom hasn't really come up that much. You kind of have to see a very specific hand for it to be relevant, but we'll talk about it when we get to the side. But I like this lineup a lot. There's a lot of times where you just get to go super wide with this. You get to draw a ton, and Scorpio form is something that it is possible to loop through multiple times in one turn. I did that in tournament. I think even in Top Cut at least once. So I love this package in the deck. I have found it to be phenomenal. You want to go wide and have a 6 under Stadium is disgusting. Speaking of Stadium, we've got our Searcher for it, Brumelink's Champion of Keon. We've got 1 Infrostix. Something that I changed the day of the event, that morning when I decided to play. I put in 2 Tadflow. You can see they're unsleeved because I immediately cut them. This won't be a part of the list for the set championship. I did use it once. It did matter when I used it, but a lot of the time I was just bricking on it. The idea behind this is if you draw it and then you end up bricking on a Woolly, you can get into it super quickly. I cut it because during my tournament run, that never happened. I just drew Tadflow and then didn't ever see Woolly, but I think a part of it is I just, despite winning, kind of had an unlucky run in terms of seeing Woolly. Most of my games were just won using the Morfrost engine. I didn't resolve Woolly that many times, actually. The Morfrost kind of just got me over the line. Now, when Woolly did hit, it hit really hard, and I won very quick. A handful of my games, or even sets, were won within 10 to 15 minutes. And so Tadflow is something to try out. It's something that I want to try and put back in, maybe if there's space, but I think that there are other cuts that I've made that have the other cards that I've put in that have just felt better than Tadflow. To round out all of the Elestrals in the deck, I also played 2 Ursical Champion of Keon. I cut this down to 1 and it's felt fine. I just, during the tournament, found myself drawing these 3 actually a lot. And then I draw the 4th Ursical. And because those all felt kind of awkward to draw, I cut them in favor of other cards. And so that is the Elestral line that I played at the event. For set champs, instead of these 3 cards, you swap them in for a Catarant, a Narpoon, and a Nectar of the Gods. You go these 3 for these 3. Narpoon, I have opened a couple of times. When you do, it's really nice. When you draw into it, it can be really nice as well, because you do run out of normal cast sometimes in this deck, and you would like to be able to search out Lichen Form. You'd like to be able to search out a Catarant if you haven't seen it. These 3 changes for set champs, and this is what I'm playing at locals as well, have felt really solid. So that's the main Elestral lineup, as well as the changes for set championships. We play 2 Keon, wouldn't change this. Keon feels phenomenal, even to draw in multiple. The main thing is I'd rather draw it than search it with Ursicle, but if I hit Ursicle off of iWilly, I feel fine with that as well. Something that I played originally in the deck, and something that is kind of seasoned to taste, is the Keon's Frostbite. I've cut it because it's something that is better when people know to play around it. And I did resolve this a couple times in tournament, but most of the time it would have just been better, and this is what I made the change for, if I was just playing a 3rd Shield of Achilles. The morning when I put in the 2 Tadflow, I cut a shield and a PTA for the 2 Tadflow because I couldn't find cuts. And in removing Tadflow, I swapped Frostbite for a shield in main for set champs. I think that Frostbite is something I go back and forth on. It is a really solid card, and I do think it's meaningful for your opponent to have to play around it. And now that people know it's a card that exists, a lot of people during the tournament did not know what this card did. And so I could not bluff it because they didn't know what it did in the first place. Now that people know what it is and they have to play around it, you actually don't have to play it because they are already playing around the threat of it. Something that could go to the side, I think, is something you could play in main and immediately side out, which is what I did a lot of the time, is I would search it, show it, they'd ask me what it does, I'd explain it, and I'd side out of it, so now they know to play around it. But I think that most of the time, Shield of Achilles does the exact same job as Frostbite. It costs 1 more, but it also makes them have to play that Elestral a second time, so you get to deal with it using other means. It's kind of a trade-off because Frostbite rate it ideally kills the Elestral that's swinging as opposed to returning it. This is kind of like a pseudo-burn card in that they have to replay the Elestral, or you can just brick them on it, something that they're not going to play a second time. So it's kind of weird. But I swapped the Frostbite for Shield, and it's felt really solid for me so far. Another thing that has changed is I mained 2 Ice Age going into the tournament. I think that was a great idea. It was exactly the meta call that I wanted to make. Now that people are playing more Ice as a result of me doing well and others on more Frost doing well, this goes to the side immediately, and especially for set champs, because I've been hearing a lot of people are playing Frost for set champs. I wonder why. So this goes to the side. It's really good into non-Frost matchups. I played versus Bo in Top Cut and opened both of the Ice Ages and a Boreas, I believe, and immediately mulligan. And that felt really bad. But then I didn't see it for the rest of the game, and then I sided out, so I didn't see it for the rest of the match. And so that was totally fine. Our search targets for the Brummalinks are 2 Blizzard Whiteout and 1 Mountains of Boreas. Blizzard is really, really solid into some matchups. It's mostly a way to guarantee that Gorgon's Gaze doesn't turn skip you when you go like Catarant. It also can be really good in preventing Earthquake from taking things out. The issue is that a good Lockagon player is never popping your Lestral, so this never resolves to stop that. A good Solar player has non-targeting removal, so this is something that gets sided out frequently. But I usually just side it down to 1 copy. It's something where you could just main 1, and that probably would be fine, and then you could play something better in this place that's more consistent. But I do like drawing Whiteout early, especially when they aren't expecting it. I don't really know what they're on. It's nice to just have that. The amount of times I've gotten double Gorgons out of somebody because I Blizzard their first Gorgons is ridiculous, and every time it feels so good. Because now you know there's only 1 more Gorgons left in the deck, and you know that they just went -3 to get the same effect as opposed to, you know, the -2. They blew 2 cards, they spent 4 spirits, you spend 1 to stop it. It feels phenomenal every time it happens, and I have had to start telling my locals to stop doing it because it feels so bad when they do it. 3 Gorgons, 2 shield, 2 PTA is what was in the main, and like I said, because of the cuts that I made, I went up a poison-tipped arrow, and I also have a Nectar of the Gods that made its way into main for the set championship. Because the list has changed, I will put a link to the set champ list in the description as long as I remember, so you can go ahead and see it all laid out there as opposed to trying to figure it out through this this video. The list that I played at the premiere is over at topelestrals.com. I assume that everyone that wanted to see it's already seen it. 17 Frost makes it easy. A Lunar, a Wind, and a Water for side deck cards. Don't ever side Spirits unless you really have to. For our side deck, we're playing a Mountains, a Scorpio form, and an Abominable form. I've sided into a bomb a handful of times. It hasn't really mattered when I did. It's just like a solid draw late game where it's like a 5. Mountains of Boreas is a great side-in against Solar, and someone else that you have the read is playing a Stadium, especially if you think they're going to side a Stadium in to deal with yours. It's great to have an additional target for it. And Scorpio form is just phenomenal into so many decks. It's really good into Solar. It's really good into Water. Those are your 2 real things that you're worried about. It's just, there's a lot of times where I go Scorpio form, pitch Bat, bring back a Lycan, and then I go pass. Because I just want to use it as an Earthquake on legs, essentially. And being that it's searchable, it's phenomenal. We have 3 Cryoblasts on the side. This is something that I went down on. Again, we have less Frost, and Cryoblast doesn't hit a whole lot. This is basically just to play into Solar, and also Fischler. If people are playing Lakagon, they're playing the Aphoros stuff. This does well into that, but I don't really think I ever wanted to see the 3rd. 2, I think, is fine. It also gives you space to play other stuff in the side. So this is something I went down on, and especially for set champs, you don't need a 3rd one of these. I also played 3 Pandora's Box. Again, I ended up moving this down because I frequently saw more than 1, and it felt really bad. So I have sided to 2, and it still feels fine to do that because you draw so much in this deck. You draw so much. You do so much card digging, shuffling your deck, stacking your deck. You are going to see a Pandora's Box when you side it in. You're going to see side cards when you side them. You're going to see the things you're looking for because you're foretelling, you're stacking, you're drawing, you're milling. You're just seeing so many cards that you don't really need to play 3 of one of these side cards. Sided 2 Dense Fog. This is just really, it's another way to deal with Solar. It's another way to deal with Water. These are the real things that we're worried about. But I think that the Solar matchup is really, really solid. Water is a solid matchup as well. The main issue is if they start really fast and strong with the Aphoros and you don't have a quick turn, that can be rough. But you also play Ice Age, so you don't really worry about that either. I just think that this deck, there's a reason I played it. I think that it is a really good meta call. I also think it is one of the strongest decks in the format. I want to see how it plays out into the next month or so of the format, but I really think that this is probably one of the best, if not the best decks in the format. It's played really well for me, and I'm excited to see more people play with it and see how it goes. Something else I played on the side is 2 Monsoon of Eurus. That's with the Wind and the Water in the main R4. This is something that is awkward. I cited it for Solar, but I found that I never actually put it into the deck when I played versus Solar because I realized after building the side deck and playing into Solar more, I really never had a moment where I wanted to side this. Kind of a consequence of going to locals where no one is playing a whole lot of Solar, as I don't have a lot of experience in the match going with sides. And so I did play some of it while I was originally building the deck and tweaking it. And Monsoon is something that makes sense in other decks. I don't think it makes a lot of sense in this, so I cut it out. And the last 2 side deck cards are Spoiled Fruit. Spoiled Fruit, very good into Lakagon, obviously. So it's kind of a mandatory side deck card. With the side deck card changes, right? So I cut these 4 cards. I cut a Pandora's, a Cryoblast, and 2 Monsoon. That gives you 2 side deck cards because the Ice Ages come out of the main into the side. So you have 2 slots that you can kind of use. And in the case of set champs in particular, I put in Tornado. The reason is, and if you've seen the Top Elestrals article written by the Law YGO, Barrel Boss is a very real side option for Lakagon and Earth. I don't think a whole lot of people are playing Earth, but Tornado is something you just need to play in the side because the deck doesn't do anything if Barrel Boss hits the field. If your opponent gets to a Barrel Boss, you lose the game unless you play Tornado, and the deck is really good at digging for cards, like I said. So 2 Tornado. I didn't end up playing against Law at our set championships. He was playing Barabas on the side. I believe also Julian was playing Barabas on the side. Mark was on Earth. Julian was on Water. I did side this in against Julian. He didn't side Barabas versus me, though, because as we're siding, I literally, we finish siding, and I look at him, and I say, I'm siding Tornado. I know you have not sided Barabas. He said, yes, I did not side Barabas because I knew you sided Tornado. And so I just had these, and I did actually use them to burn him on an Aphrodite. He had loaded it with 2 or 3 spirits, used it, and I just bounced it back to hand, and I said, yeah, I'm fine with this trade because it just means that I get this out of my hand. You have to replay your Aphrodite next turn, and you're so low that you're taking a 6 of your life total to do that. So Tornado's a burn card. I've been saying this for a long time. That's the side deck. This deck has felt really, really good. Just playing. I've really enjoyed playing it. It feels really, really skillful. It feels like it's hard to navigate board states well and choose what cards you want to use when. And I think that the dex changes that I've made, increasing the counter runes, swapping Ice Age to the side because of the increase of Frost matchups, and then playing Nectar of the Gods, being able to go Catarant, stack 2 cards I really want Nog, it feels so good. A lot of the times, what I was finding in playing is that I just wanted more cards in hand. And we're at a point where the quality of cards is such that Nog is actually worth playing. So it's felt really good to have 2 of it in the main. And it also is something that is reasonable to side in and out of when you want to put in additional meaningful cards. But a lot of the time I'm not siding out of it anyway, because I would rather side out like PTA for going second and put in the cards that will be more impactful instead, and then Nog to draw into them. So that is my Premier Championship winning and Set Championship winning deck profile. Morfrost, Iwooly. I love these little elephants so much. These are absolutely my favorite cards that have come out of Lifestream. They've been super fun to play with. And I hope that you all enjoy trying this deck out. Bring it to your locals. The mirror match is actually very, very fun. I think that this deck has a really solid matchup into the broader meta game. I think it is really hard for a lot of decks to deal with it. It just has so much gas. There's so much potential to do so much damage out of nowhere. And then it has board clear tools as well in the forms of like Ice Age, Cryoblast. You've got now 3 shield that I'm maining as well as the PTAs at 3. You just have so much stuff to deal with your opponent's cards that I think that this deck is phenomenal. So with all that, thank you so much for watching. Hope that you all enjoy playing this deck. And you know, if you have any thoughts, leave them down in the description below. If you want to know more about the deck, I'm always happy to chat about this. Hit me up on social media, in Discord, whatever. Love chatting about this deck. I've had a handful of people reach out to me to talk about it already, and Jacques even won a set champ after doing so. So, you know, come get some advice or something. I don't know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.